Every so often, a player comes along who just feels different. In a world of high-speed football, we rarely see a phenomenon quite like Lamine Yamal. At an age when most kids are just hoping for a professional debut, he was already a starter for one of the world's biggest clubs and a champion with his country. He hasn't just played the game. He's completely rewritten its history books. At just 17 years old, he shattered records for both club and country, becoming a legend in the making. So, how did a kid from Masia become the undisputed face of a new generation for Barcelona and the Spanish national team, all with such breathtaking speed? This is the story of his historic achievements and his unstoppable rise. Every dynasty needs an heir, and for a club as legendary as FC Barcelona, the pressure is massive. In the famed halls of La Masia, the academy that gave us Messi, Xavi, and Iniesta, whispers started to spread about a new prodigy. A player with a special mix of flair, vision, and a composure that just seemed unnatural for his age. That name was Lamine Yamal. From early on, it was obvious he was on another level. Coaches weren't just impressed by his technical skills, like his signature, curling shots and fearless dribbling. They were floored by his footballing brain. It was club legend and then manager Xavi Hernandez who best captured the feeling inside the club, reportedly calling him the chosen one. For a team navigating a tricky transition and searching for a new hero, these weren't just empty words, they felt like a prophecy. Yamal wasn't just another talented player on the assembly line. He was seen as the one destined to carry the Blaugrana flag into a new era. He flew through the youth ranks, skipping age groups and dominating at every turn, leaving everyone with the feeling that his arrival on the big stage was only a matter of time. And when it happened, it was sooner than anyone could have possibly imagined. April 29, 2023, marked that date down in Barcelona's history books. On that day, against Real Betis, Lamine Yamal stepped onto the pitch at the Camp Nou. At just 15 years and 290 days old, he became the youngest player to ever make an official debut for FC Barcelona. This wasn't some token appearance in a game that was already decided. It was a clear statement. The chosen one was taking his first steps, and the world was watching. Those first few touches were a masterclass in confidence, a little taste of the magic that was to come. He nearly scored and assisted on his debut, showing off the audacity that would quickly become his trademark. The buzz was immediate and deafening. Fans, pundits, and even his opponents were left in awe. This wasn't just a debut. It felt like an anointment. In just a few minutes, Yamal went from a whispered-about prospect to a living, breathing reality. The pressure should have been crushing, but for Yamal, it just seemed to be fuel. He had arrived, he had announced that he belonged, and it was obvious that this was only the start of his record-breaking spree. After that historic debut, Yamal didn't just hang around in the background. He grabbed the spotlight and started rewriting the history books. The records just kept falling. He became the youngest starter for Barcelona in a La Liga match in the 21st century at 16 years and 38 days old. Then, the youngest player to provide an assist in the league's history. On October 8, 2023, he broke another massive record, becoming the youngest goalscorer in La Liga history when he scored against Granada at just 16 years and 87 days old. But his impact went far beyond the scoresheet. His style of play was pure electricity. Known for his incredible flair, creativity, and those stunning long-distance curling goals, he played with a joy that was contagious. He wasn't just effective, he was mesmerizing. He became the youngest player in El Clasico history and, later, its youngest ever goalscorer. Each time he stepped on the pitch, another record seemed to be in danger. From the youngest to score in the Spanish Super Cup to the youngest to score a brace in La Liga, the list just kept growing. He was no longer just a promising young player. He was one of Barcelona's most important attackers, a teenager rewriting the record books in one of the world's toughest leagues. Yamal's incredible rise wasn't just a club story. When the Spanish national team, La Roja, came calling, he answered in historic fashion. In September 2023, at just 16 years and 57 days old, he made his senior debut for Spain, becoming the youngest player to ever represent the country. And, in a perfect display of his character, he scored on his debut, also becoming Spain's youngest ever goalscorer. But it was at UEFA Euro 2024 where Lamine Yamal truly announced himself as a global superstar. He walked onto the tournament stage as the youngest player in its history, at 16 years and 338 days. From his very first match against Croatia, where he also became the youngest to provide an assist, he was a vital player for Spain. He played with a fearlessness that defied his age, taking on veteran defenders and creating chances out of thin air. The defining moment came in the semi-final against France. With Spain trailing, he hit a jaw-dropping curling shot from outside the box that flew into the top corner. With that goal, he became the youngest scorer in European Championship history. He then started in the final against England, just one day after his 17th birthday, becoming the youngest player to ever play in a Euro final. Spain won the tournament, and Yamal was rightfully named the competition's young player of the tournament, cementing his place as a national hero before he was even old enough to drive. This is the kind of story that comes around once in a generation. If you believe Lamine Yamal is the future of football and want to follow his incredible journey, make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon. You won't want to miss our next deep dive into the world's biggest rising stars. If his breakout year was stunning, his 2024-25 season was something else entirely. This was the year Lamine Yamal went from a generational talent to a genuine world-class superstar. He was a central figure as Barcelona achieved phenomenal success, securing a domestic treble by winning La Liga, the Copa del Rey, and the Supercopa de España. He scored decisive goals, provided game-winning assists, and consistently showed up in high-pressure moments. He became the beating heart of Barcelona's attack, the player his teammates looked to for a spark of magic. By the end of the season, there was no more debate. Lamine Yamal, still just 17, wasn't just a part of the team. He was one of its most important leaders on the pitch. His trophy cabinet before turning 18 already included 2 La Liga titles, a Copa del Rey, a Spanish Super Cup, and the UEFA European Championship. The team trophies were historic, but the individual awards that came next confirmed his status as the undisputed best young player on the planet. The awards season was basically his coronation. He won the prestigious Copa Trophy, given to the world's best-performing player under 21. Soon after, he claimed the Golden Boy Award, another honor recognizing him as Europe's top young footballer. His global impact was cemented when he received the Laureus World Breakthrough of the Year award in April 2025, an honor that goes beyond just football. Perhaps the most telling sign of his standing in the game came when he was nominated for the Ballon d'Or, becoming the youngest player in history to be nominated for football's most sought-after individual prize at just 17 years old. While legends like Lionel Messi were just making their senior debuts at that age, Yamal was already in the conversation as one of the world's absolute best. This flood of awards wasn't just a nod to his talent, but a confirmation that he had already reached a level few players ever do, let alone as a teenager. With a rise this fast comes an almost unimaginable amount of pressure. Football history is littered with stories of amazing talents who burned brightly but faded away under the constant spotlight. Players like Ansu Fati, who also broke records at a young age, have shown how injuries and pressure can change a career path. The challenge for Yamal, and for Barcelona, is to manage this massive weight of expectation. However, everything about Yamal suggests he's just built differently. His maturity on the field is matched by a calm and grounded personality off it. The club has created a support system to protect him, carefully managing his playing time and development to ensure his body and mind can handle the demands. His family and his roots in the humble neighborhood of Rocafonda also keep him grounded. While the world sees a superstar, he remains a young man with a special gift. The pressure will always be there, but Yamal seems to thrive on it, turning expectations into motivation and proving time and time again that he's not just a special talent, but a resilient one. Let's just take a second to process this. Before turning 18, Barcelona's youngest ever debutant and goalscorer, Spain's youngest ever player and goalscorer, the youngest player, scorer, and assist provider in the history of the European Championship, a Euro 2024 champion, a domestic treble winner, winner of the Copa Trophy and the Golden Boy Award, and the youngest Ballon d'Or nominee in history. The list is as impressive as his style of play. Lamine Yamal is more than just a record breaker. He's a symbol of a new era, the face of a revitalized Barcelona and a dominant Spain. He plays with the magic of a street footballer and the mind of a seasoned pro. He has achieved more in 2 years than most players do in their entire careers. With so much already in the bag, the only question left is, how high can Lamine Yamal fly? Do you think he's the greatest talent in the history of La Masia? Let us know what you think in the comments below.